All right. Hannah,
Hey,
we're live.
hi, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. You getting ready for
Awesome.
Thanksgiving?
Yep. We are getting ready for Thanksgiving here in Puerto Rico. So, our
Love
first
it.
Thanksgiving in Puerto Rico. Well, guys, if you are joining us live today, welcome. If you're not joining us live and you're watching later, also welcome. You guys know how Tuesday teaching goes by now, but I have a very special guest with me. This is Hannah Kennedy. She is the manager of strategic relationships at Elite Worldwide. And we're super excited to have her here with us today to talk about mastering phone etiquette and how that can really play into your shop operations, employee training, but also optimizing your marketing, particularly your digital ads. So, welcome, Hannah. Do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little about your background with Elite, but also as a
Yeah.
shop owner, you have a great perspective as well.
Yeah, I'll be glad to. Thank you. So I've been working with Elite for the last 3 years, and I get to work with industry partners like Haley and the team at Shop Marketing Pros, and many of the other companies that you all probably invest in and do business with. And so what I do is I work hard to connect industry experts with shop owners and to bring lots of value to them. Why do I know that it's valuable? Because I too am a shop owner. My husband and I own Kennedy Auto Solutions in Tomball, Texas, which is North Houston. You may have seen on the news yesterday about some tornado outbreaks in North Houston, and our area right by my shop was hit. So everybody is fine, but it may have gotten hit national news. I'm not sure. So that is where we're located. We love the automotive industry. I have been a part of the automotive industry for over 15 years, started in the dealership world selling highline luxury vehicles in the Audi world, and then fell into the independent space and eventually owned my own shop with my husband. We worked together there for a long time getting it up and running, and now we have a fantastic team who runs our shop for us and with us. So 3 years ago, I got the chance to join Elite. But before that, I got to not only be a service advisor in my shop, but also work for another coaching company auditing inbound phone calls and doing quality assurance audits. So I listened to hundreds and maybe even thousands of of recorded calls coming to your front desk, right? And got to hear what the trends are that our shops are doing, and to hear how we as an industry, with a small segment that I was listening to, how we do with these phone calls. And I can tell you that people are calling for a reason. And sometimes we aren't doing so hot with making the best of each phone call. So I'm excited to visit with Haley here and share with you all how we can do better on the front lines to make sure that we give every opportunity to the client to be heard and helped, but also bring in sales for our company.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it really all boils down to as well. And that's why phone call listening, etiquette, and then using those phone calls to optimize your marketing. This is one of my favorite topics to teach about because it is so nuanced based on your shop and your operations. But no matter what, it is universal across all shops. And the need for good service advisors and phone etiquette really translates into dollars. So that's why it's so important. So, and that's why we have this class named so appropriately, and it's Stop Losing Money on the Phone. So let's dive in. Let's see. All right, we're going to start with why you should record your phone calls. So if you're not already recording your phone calls, that is step number one. You should be recording your phone calls that come into your shop, no matter if they're from paid marketing or not. It also just acts as a good, I guess, insurance policy. Is that what you would call it, Hannah? But also a training tool as well. So first, start recording your calls. This is why.
Yeah. So a couple of different reasons, right? One is you get a barometer of the quality of calls that you're getting. You get to know how your reputation is in the industry, but you also get to know what the quality of the marketing is. A lot of people will say, I'm not getting enough phone calls. I need more cars. Well, great, important first place to start is listen to your calls to see if the calls that you're getting are qualified to even do business with you. And to see if whoever's answering the phone is helping them to get in the door and make that appointment, right? Or are they doing and saying things that are maybe making the customer lose interest or lose confidence and go a different way, or hang up and say, oh, well, I'm going to go shop others. So managing your client experience, when you are able to, when you record your call, you can start hearing things like tone of voice, what was said, was there an upset customer, and why did that happen? What was promised? What, people are learning if they can trust you in the big things by learning if they can trust you in the small things. So there are a number of different reasons why you should record your calls. And before you do that, you should probably figure out what you're listening for. So we're going to talk through that some today as well. What kind of tone of voice are you hearing? Is your employee, your service advisor or manager, do they sound warm and happy when they're greeting someone? Are they focused on the phone call, or are they distracted? Can the caller hear them, or are they back in the shop and hearing impact noises? That's the first thing you're calling or you're listening for. The other things that you're listening for is, what was the customer looking for, or what was the caller looking for? Was it a call that you could actually help? Was it someone calling for some obscure part, looking to buy it from you and you don't sell parts? Or was it a customer or a potential customer who needs the services that you sell and is calling asking for that help?
Yeah. And I think something that I like to say too is, I just mentioned kind of using your recorded calls as an insurance policy, but I think a really big caveat to that is this last bullet point, is that you should never be using your call recordings against your customers. They're not weapons. They're simply there as a resource and an aid in the client experience. So that's very important.
That's exactly right.
And then the next reason you should be recording your calls kind of falls on the marketing side of this. So again, Hannah's speaking from not only the coaching side and shop owner experience side, but then we have the marketing side of this as well. You can, when you're recording the phone calls, particularly the ones that come from your marketing, you can audit the kinds of calls you're getting to determine if your marketing is producing the right kind of callers. If your marketing is not producing the right kind of phone calls, and we're going to really focus on calls from pay-per-click ads or pay-per-lead ads in this, example, but that tells you right then and there that you need to go make a further optimization on your ads, whether that be negative keywords, or if you're running local services ads, rating those calls poorly so they get weeded out. We'll get more into the specifics of how to optimize, but listening to your phone calls really allows you that understanding of what your marketing is bringing in, and to give feedback to your marketers if you're working with a marketing company. Also, it determines if your marketing is bringing in the right kind of phone calls. Are your service advisors working to close the appointment? Again, Hannah's going to speak a lot to using your phone call recordings as training, but there are so often times where we at Shop Marketing Pros see that someone's Google ads are bringing in the right types of calls, meaning it's for a service that the shop offers on a vehicle that they work on, but the service advisor is not trained to convert that phone call into a customer that walks through their doors. And then it also allows you to determine what marketing channels are performing well for you. If you're using tracking numbers in your paid marketing, which I hope you are, it will allow you to say my LSA ads are producing X amount of calls and my Google ads are producing X amount of calls. And then you can kind of audit from there which channels are performing best and maybe put more money into those higher performing channels. So it really allows you to take a good review and audit on your marketing channels as a whole. And again, when it comes to your paid marketing, I really hope that you all are using tracking numbers to determine how that marketing source is performing for you. And then Hannah's going to get into employee training next. Like I said, even if your marketing is bringing in the correct kind of callers, it's really up to your service advisor to convert that caller into a booked appointment. So Hannah's going to speak to using recordings for employee training.
Absolutely. Ultimately, when somebody's calling your shop or coming into your shop, they're likely anxious. They are thinking about all the costs they have coming up with end of the year or whatever time of year it is. They're thinking about how it's inconvenient that their vehicle needs service or is broken at this moment. What we do is not necessarily always fun, right? Taking care of our car, making an appointment, being without a vehicle. So first things first, the reason we need to audit, listen to our phone calls is listen to how our service advisors are handling the callers when they first call. So the first thing would be to build rapport and greet them, help the customer, help the caller feel heard and feel like they're in a place with somebody who can help them, right? So we talk about listening for a greeting, listening for what the customer or what the caller's need is, right? So they're calling, when they call, they want a solution. They want to know that you can help them and that you can, that you are the expert that they were hoping to talk to and that you're going to help them out of this problem that they're having with their vehicle. Oftentimes, you're also listening for how does your service advisor handle a price question? Why? Because most people just know how to ask price. And in this day and age, with our economy the way it is, and with the cost of not only buying new cars, but keeping up with and maintaining and really repairing vehicles, it's very expensive. So people are just going to know to ask about the cost. And maybe they've had somebody tell them, hey, you need XYZ repair. And they just want to know what you're going to charge. Well, every company is different based on how they handle a caller that wants price. And what you're listening for is your team using good empathy to interact with the customer and know, or interact with the caller and help them feel heard and comforted, but also are they feeling like they can be helped? So even though they're asking price, maybe you're able to start a conversation. And so we're talking a little bit about EQ, emotional quotient, or emotional knowledge, right? So if you have high EQ, you have high emotional knowledge, you're able to read a situation and manage it well. And that's what we're teaching our service advisors, to hear this anxious caller and help take them through whatever sales cycle you use. We have the Elite sales cycle at Elite, and help lower their anxiety, get their brains out of that fight or flight anxiety response and put it into a thinking response where they can critically make decisions about their vehicle, about their schedule, and about how they're going to move forward. A lot of times, you, for instance, have the caller say, hey, do you work on this? Or, hey, how much to repair that? You got that question, but we want to teach our service advisors how to get to the question beyond or behind the question. How much is something? Their question is probably, can I afford it? And how long am I going to be without my vehicle? And can I trust you that you're going to be able to fix my vehicle? That's what's happening. So when you're listening to these phone calls, you're hearing, what is your team member saying? How are they handling that customer's concerns? Are they lowering their anxiety? Are they gathering the information needed, like the year, make, and model? What signs and symptoms your vehicle is having? So the way we teach it at Elite is to build rapport. So greet with a warm greeting, get to know the customer a little bit, get to know how they drive their vehicle, and then you're going to fact find, right? So not only does does the customer need to know, or do you need to know what's wrong with their vehicle? They also need to learn and determine that they can trust your shop to fix their issue. So while you're fact finding, you're saying, hey, so what is it that your vehicle's doing? Did somebody tell you that it needed this after inspecting it, or doing a diagnostic test on it, or a testing procedure on it? Or did the internet tell you, how did you learn that it needs this repair that you're asking for pricing? What is it actually doing? When is that happening? Where are you feeling it or hearing it? Outside, inside, at high speeds, low speeds? Has it done this before? How long has it been doing it? Those are the kinds of things that you're going to be working through to make sure that your customer feels heard, but also that we get them toward that desire and action to bring their vehicle in. So after asking the right questions, you determine what the need is. Hey, it sounds like you're concerned about this. And another thing we teach is to identify the solution. So, hey, we can help you with that. It sounds like your vehicle needs us to look at or to inspect let's say the brake system. We can help you with that. And then we build value in ourselves to being able to help them. And then we tell them a little bit about the technician who's going to be inspecting their vehicle to evaluate what's wrong with it. Then we explain very clearly what the benefits of the repair or service is. Now, this is a full sales cycle. It may not happen on your first phone call. I mean, ultimately, the sale of the very first phone call is to get the appointment. So what you're listening for is, are they getting the information needed? And then are they encouraging the caller to go toward making that appointment? And after lowering their anxiety, helping them determine that, yes, I'm willing to bring my vehicle in to have you guys take it down through the next steps. They may have objections about timing or price or any other reason. And so any number of companies will teach you how to overcome objections. For instance, I like to dissolve objections. So they say, oh, well, I can't come during your working hours. It shows that your hours are only 8 to 5 and I'm working during that time. So I'm going to have to take off in order to bring my vehicle in. In my shop, I'm able to dissolve that objection and say, well, actually, we can do all of your registration right now over the phone or on the appointment document that I'm texting to you, or the appointment link I'm texting to you. And we've got an overnight drop box where you can put your key in this box or through this slot in the receiving door to keep your key safe. You can park your vehicle here safely at my shop overnight, and then it will already be in line for us to inspect it tomorrow. Or they say, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pick it up after hours. The same thing is true. You're able to work through their concerns and their objections by offering them a response of how we can help them to overcome that concern. Ultimately, the goal is to get them in the door. So, yeah.
I was just going to say, I like how you talk a lot about easing their anxiety, because the truth of the matter is nobody wants to bring their car in, definitely not for like an unexpected repair that they didn't plan on, that may be costly, but even for maintenance, nobody really wants to bring their car in and be without their car, right? It's an interruption to their routine. It's inconvenient. And so, meeting them with EQ, like you said, and overcoming that objection with empathy and understanding and dissolving it. I like that word, dissolving it, is really what people are looking for. Can, again, you be trustworthy to them? Can you make them comfortable? That's ultimately how you get people in the door, even if you are a little higher priced. One of the number one objections that we hear, particularly in marketing, is that people's phone calls from their ads are producing quote unquote price shoppers. And honestly, we've come to kind of hate that term price shopper because, like you said, people just don't know what else to ask Or it's a deeper question of, I didn't expect this. Can I afford it? Can I get to and from? And I like to say too, just because somebody asks for a price doesn't mean they're looking for the cheapest option. I'm a person that prices things all the time to see if, the service that I'm looking for is in the general ballpark at multiple places. And that's not to say, again, that I'm looking for the cheapest one. I might go with the most expensive one if they can make me comfortable and show me the value that I'm going to get for that higher price. And I think, again, it's not only about making people comfortable, but also showing your value. Yes, we might be a little bit of a higher priced shop, but here's why.
Exactly right. And you're able to build value because oftentimes if somebody's new calling you, especially from a Google ad or a paid ad, they don't know you yet. They don't know why they could trust you. They maybe found you from the ad. They maybe heard of you a little bit because of maybe somebody in their neighborhood posted your shop's name, or a friend recommended, or maybe they drove by. But more often than not, especially when we're talking here about paid ads, these people don't know you. The caller sees some reviews, hopes you're as good as the reviews say, but they're naturally calling in with skepticism for numerous reasons, including that our industry as a whole, just naturally people aren't too comfortable when they call around and try to get repairs done, because it's not always been a positive experience for people.
Yeah. And at that point, your ad has done its job, right? It's sent you a new caller. And that's what marketing promises, is leads, not conversions. We always like to say that there's a big difference between an opportunity lead. It means that your service advisor has the opportunity to convert that lead to a paying customer. There's definitely a difference between lead and conversions there.
True.
Let's see. Sorry, Hannah, were you done with that slide?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So next we're going to get into, now you're recording your calls and you understand why recording your calls is important. Now taking those call recordings and using them to optimize your marketing based on what you're hearing in those recordings. So we at Shop Marketing Pros like to say that we always aim for opportunity calls to be 40% or more of your total call volume. And again, we say opportunity because it is the opportunity for your service advisor to convert that lead into a booked customer. No leads convert themselves. I like to say, no one is going to call and not ask any questions and just say, I need new brakes, take my credit card, charge it, whatever, have at it. And no, that's the reality. Nobody's going to do that, right? It would be nice, but you have to work to build that kind of relationship and rapport with a client to the point that the customer drops their keys in your hand and says, I trust you guys, do whatever.
That takes time.
Absolutely. I'm sure you have people like that at your shop, but again, how much time have you invested for people to get to that point that they've been coming to you for numerous appointments, numerous years at that point?
That's exactly.
Do you want to talk about how to set a close ratio in your shop?
Yeah. So the way I calculate a close ratio and have my team calculate it is just have on your desk a tally, right? And so every time you take a call, put a tally down. And if that call is one that you could actually only put the tally down if it's a call that could potentially be converted into an appointment. For instance, if somebody's calling saying, hey, do you do lifts on my Toyota truck, and it's something that we don't do, or do you re-gear this clutch or transmission? No, we don't do that, or whatever the case may be. If it's something that you absolutely don't do and they don't need any help with that, or do you sell this obscure part, or is it a parts company calling you? Well, that's not one that you're going to be able to mark down as a potential conversion call because it's just not something you do. But if you get a call and it's somebody who's asking for a price or asking for your hours or asking if you do this repair, then go ahead and mark it. And so over that certain amount of time, I like to count it by week. So I got 27 calls and I was able to get, 20 appointments. That's how you calculate your conversions. You say, I got this many calls that could have been appointments. And then this is the number of appointments that I got. You divide the number of calls that you were able to make appointments for into the number that, to the total number of calls that could have been converted, and then multiply it by 100. And then you've got your percentage of calls that were converted into an appointment.
And I think our slides are lagging behind a little. So Caroline's going to open them on her end. So let me, sorry guys, a little technical difficulty, but Caroline is going to share our slides from her end because I think I'm lagging a little bit. But as Hannah was talking about close ratio, I think the important part here is to realize that your close ratio is so important to know, particularly if you are running paid marketing services that are meant to drive you phone calls and appointment bookings. And you want to know, thanks, Caroline. She's in the background. You guys can't see her, but she's being our tech person right now. But it's so important to know because you're paying for each one of those calls. So every time your phone rings from your paid marketing source, you're paying for it. And that's why it's so important to close and know how to close. All right. Are you good on your end now, Hannah?
Yeah. Can you see it on your screen?
Yes. Yeah. It looked okay on my screen before. So I just wanted to make sure.
Oh, yeah. No, it's perfect now.
Okay, perfect. So the next slide is about how to use low quality calls to optimize. It's very realistic that once you start a paid marketing type like Google ads or local services ads, there's this period of a learning phase is what it's called in Google's world. And because the ads are brand new, they need time to learn your audience, learn your bid strategy, learn your budget, and serve your ads to the correct type of callers. So it's realistic to think that you would get low quality calls in the first 30, 60, sometimes 90 days if you're in a more populated area as well. But those low quality calls, they're not for nothing. You can still use them to optimize your paid marketing even further. So we're going to talk about 3 different ways to use even low quality calls, especially in the beginning of launching ads, to optimize them for the correct kind of calls. So the first one we'll talk about is negative keywords. Oh, Caroline, can you click for me? Thank you. So negative keywords is essentially any term that you do not want your ad to show for. So think about your competitors' names. A lot of people say, well, I want my ad to come up when people are searching for my competitor. I'm here to tell you from lots of testing and experience, all that's going to do is make your phone ring with customers that are then angry that they got to you instead of the person that they're looking for, or which is a waste of your money. We've tested them plenty times before. We're always willing to test them if a client wants, but typically it always ends the same and it gets marked as a wrong call because the caller is looking for your competitor and not you. They're very, very notoriously hard to convert. So you can add negative keywords that are your competitor's name, any services you don't offer. It's very important to add as negative keywords. So for example, if your shop doesn't do alignments, you'll want to add every variation of the word alignment, front wheel alignment, just the one term alignment, hunter alignment, get creative with it. You can apply these negative keywords at the campaign level and at the account level. So they apply to all campaigns within your account. Typically at Shop Marketing Pros, we start with what we call our master negative keyword list. And those feature common terms that people search that you wouldn't want your independent shop to show for. So, for example, Costco tires, Walmart, DIY, glass. A lot of shops don't do glass, or collision, body repair. Those common terms that you know up front you don't want your ads to show for, I would suggest before even turning your ads on to input those negative keywords. And then as your ads start producing calls, listen to and audit your calls and determine if you are getting calls for other shops or for services you don't offer, then continue to add and build on those negative keywords to further optimize your ads.
Something else we had to do with our Google ads as well was to focus in. We're in a very large city, right? So Houston has millions of people, and it takes an hour to with no traffic to get from one side to the other. And so we had to really focus on, are we advertising and focusing our paid ads in the area where people are going to be most likely to drive to us to come for service? For instance, I don't want to be advertising down in Kemah and in Galveston, Texas, which is only about 60 miles from us, but could not officially end in the Houston market. But if it was even Houston proper, would still be 45 miles away from our shop. So we had to be really particular on where we had those ads run as well.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in larger populated cities like Houston, you really want to own like a 3 to 5, maybe 8 if your specialty mile radius around your shop. It has to be, and sometimes you can't even go by miles, because 8 miles in Houston could take you how long in Houston traffic? I drove across Houston the other day. And it took me so long. It took me so long to drive across Houston the other day. So I got firsthand experience in that I hadn't had in a while. But I mean, Hannah's exactly right. Think about not even in terms of miles, but in terms of time it takes your customers to drive from wherever your targeted area is to your shop, and how many shops they pass along that drive. What is going to make them pass all those shops on the way to you and come to your shop instead? Next is brand exclusions. Again, this is similar to negative keywords in the fact that these are brands, mostly dealerships, that you don't want your ads associated with, or you don't want your ads to show for. So in the screenshot here, it may be a little small on the screen, but you'll see we have a lot of dealers listed as brand exclusions here. So brand exclusions are particularly good for adding dealerships, and you can apply them to your search and performance max campaigns. And you simply do this under tools, brand lists, and then you can add brand exclusions by dropping in the dealership's website URLs. If they're able to be found, meaning they're registered with Google, maybe they're running Google ads, you'll be able to apply them to a brand exclusion list like you see in the screenshot here. So this is a really good way to weed out those dealers. And then a newer type of ad, I say newer, it's still newer, I guess. It's been about a year now, is Google's local services ads. Now, local services ads are different from Google ads, and I won't get into all the reasons because that can be an entire class in itself. But it's different from traditional Google ads in that it's pay per lead, not pay per click. So they're solely meant to drive phone calls. These are hot leads, and you pay every time the phone rings. Now, it's not keyword based, but you can optimize your LSA calls by rating those calls within the local services ads dashboard. And you rate the call based on the quality of call. So you see the scale here. If it's a good call for a service you offer on a vehicle you work on, and it either booked an appointment, meaning it converted right then and there on the phone, or it could convert into a customer soon. You would rate that either very satisfied or somewhat satisfied. That signals to LSA that those are the types of calls you want to continue getting. If it's not a quality call, meaning it's a wrong call, it's for a service that you don't work on, it's outside of your service area, or it's a sales call, anything that would be considered blatantly wrong, you want to rate it very dissatisfied or somewhat dissatisfied. And that signals to Google that these are the types of calls you don't want. Also important to know about local services ads is that if you rate a call very dissatisfied, it triggers a dispute of that charged lead with Google. And if Google agrees with that dispute, you can get money credited back to your LSA account. So that's also another reason why it's very important to rate your LSA leads, but also because this is truly one of the only ways to optimize for the types of calls you do and don't want in local services ads. Again, we talked about that learning phase. The first 30 days of LSA calls, we typically hear from clients that they get a lot of price shoppers. They don't really like the kind of calls they're getting. It's not their ideal client. But at the 60, 90-day mark of running LSAs, we've heard from clients that things really turn around. And it's because we have that month or two of call rating under our belts in the LSA account. So you've told Google what types of calls you do and don't want. Last thing about LSA rating is that if you are listening to and rating these LSA calls in the LSA dashboard yourself, it's very important to stick with a consistent scale of how you rate these calls. That way you're not confusing Google and sending them mixed messages. So if you are doing this yourself, create a scale for whoever is rating your calls to stick to. And then last thing on using your call recordings to optimize your marketing is the number one conversion killer we hear when we're listening to calls, and we listen to thousands of calls, is auto attendants and poorly trained service advisors. When somebody calls your shop, the very last thing they want to do is sit through a super long call tree that makes them jump through all of these hoops to finally get to someone that they can ask questions to or book an appointment with. I completely understand that having a real person answer the phone off the bat doesn't necessarily fall in line with everybody's shop processes or operations. It's ideal if you can do that, but if you are a shop that has to have some kind of call flow or auto attendant, I suggest keeping it very, very short, maybe 1 to 2 options until somebody gets to a real person, because I hear people hang up on those auto attendants or those call flows all the time. And then the very last thing you want to do is put someone through this really long call flow, and then they finally get to talk to a service advisor who, like Hannah says, doesn't ease their anxiety, has no EQ, doesn't ask for the appointment, and can't overcome objections. So someone just gets off, a customer gets off the phone feeling disappointed and like they didn't meet their goal and they're going to go somewhere else. I hear all the time service advisors waste money because they fumble a phone call once it gets to them. So those are our number one conversion killers that we see.
All right. So how to make sure that you're getting your bang for your buck, right? So if you're not already recording your phone calls, or if you are recording them, but you're not using them for training, let's come up with a plan for how to do that. So we're going to assume today that you do know how to record your calls. You have a software or a platform that you pay, Ring Central, Ring Central, OctoRocket, Digital,
Concierge.
Concierge, thank you. My brain lost the word. goodness, any number. There's so many companies that record calls now, especially if you have a VoIP system. So let's assume that you're recording calls. Let's assume that because you're using a high quality, professional recording company, that they are software, that they do the proper acknowledgments to or disclosures to the listener to know that they're being recorded. Let's go on the back end and say, okay, if I'm recording the calls, how did I use them to train my team to make sure that we're doing things in the best way to get people in the door and in a process that can be repeatable? So first things first, you've got to determine what is your company's way? What do you want to hold them accountable to? So as you can see on here, we're talking about what is your greeting. Mine is, thank you for calling Kennedy Auto Solutions. This is Hannah. How may I help you? This is Hannah. You can ask some sort of question. Tone of voice. Is your team member answering the phone distracted and being like, hey, machine shop, how can I help you? Or are they saying, hi, thank you for calling this shop, and then saying their name? Another thing to listen for, and this is something that's really important to me, is that your service advisor is listening actively. What tells me that somebody is listening actively is when they repeat to me what I say and they heard what I said the first time. How many times have you heard someone, or have you called somewhere and said, I have a 2015 Toyota Avalon, and my car has been making noises every time I turn left into my driveway, and I was hoping to see how much it costs. And then they go through the whole process on that call with you, and then at the end they go, and now what was that? What is the year, make, and model of your vehicle? And what was it that it's doing? And you're like, oh my goodness, I just said all of that already. I have to repeat myself. If you are training your team to listen actively, and I would say take notes, then whether it's subconscious or blatant to your caller, they're going to feel heard. The same can be said for were the names given, right? So was your service advisor or whoever answered your phone, did they share their name, and did they hear the caller's name and repeat it up to 3 times to help the caller know that they were heard? If you've ever read How to Win Friends and Influence People, it's the oldie but goodie. Dale Carnegie talks about how the most beautiful word in somebody's language is their own name. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Positive versus negative answers. Now, this is more of a pet peeve of mine. When I hear somebody say, "Oh, unfortunately, we can't help you." Well, no, or unfortunately, we don't do that. Unfortunately, we don't have any openings this week. Well, why don't we turn it to a positive? This is maybe the way of your company. Hey, I can absolutely help you. I've got availability this afternoon at 4:30 or tomorrow at 8 a.m., which works better for you. Instead of saying, oh, I can't do it at 12 o'clock when you wanted to, right? So we're turning a negative into a positive. Empathy. Empathy is oftentimes natural, but sometimes has to be taught. So if your service advisor answers a phone call and the person is distraught and they are like, my car is broken, I don't know what to do, it just stalled on me while I was driving, I'm sitting in traffic, oh my goodness. And you go, okay, well, what's the year, make, and model? And all right, well, what's it doing? Can you drop it off? I heard no empathy in there. And that customer is anxious, and the caller is anxious. They're not even a customer yet. And they're like, oh my gosh, my car is stalled, I'm scared. Well, anybody with empathy, which is what I'm listening for when I audit phone calls, would say, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry to hear that you're stalled. Are you safe? How do you need to get off the phone with me until you get somewhere safe? Do I need to, do we need to call the police to have them help you block off the road? Do we need to call a tow truck? That's that. Or if somebody said something along the lines of, I've had this issue for ages, I've taken it to 5 places, my car has not been fixed, and I'm just beyond frustrated. Empathy looks like saying, gosh, I would be frustrated too. That's really stressful that you haven't been able to find a shop that would fix your car. So we want to listen for empathy. I also want to listen for fact finding. So that's another thing you can see is your team fact finding in a way that is how your team sees is appropriate, right? What's the vehicle doing? When did it start? How often do you hear it? What scenarios or environments make this problem happen? Do you feel it in the steering wheel? Do you feel it in your feet? Do you smell something? Do you hear something? Those types of fact-finding calls, or fact-finding questions. Those are other things to determine what your way is for your company that you expect your service advisors to do every time they answer the phone. Again, we come back to that active listening, repeating the details that they heard. Okay, so when you turn left into your driveway, you hear that clunk. That's what I heard, right? Or I heard you say this. Am I describing it properly? And for those who can hear my dog, I apologize. She is not in this room, but she is protecting my house. Another thing to do is, like I said, with the positive versus negative responses to people, we want to help lower their anxiety by explaining that, yes, we can help you. Hey, I know that you're having this problem. I'm so sorry you've had to take it to 5 different shops, but rest assured, my team is sharp. We have all the tools we need, and we are the right place and the right people to take care of your concern. And so then from there, once you've determined what your company's way is, then you write down the details. You make this plan and put it in front of your team. Train them on what those rules are and what you expect of your advisors and what you're listening for, and then start grading each call to that. You can do that manually. You can do that with AI these days. You can actually, a lot of these recording platforms will allow you to have a transcript. Yeah, a transcript of the recording, and you can train even just plain old ChatGPT. Hey, this is what I'm listening for when my team is supposed to do all these steps whenever they take a call, and this is what I'm listening for. Will you please read this transcript and clarify, and point out what is happening that is needing to be addressed.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Hannah. And one that, we haven't even touched on yet is using AI basically to give AI a rubric and say, these are all of the things that I'm listening for. And then you can upload an MP3 recording to ChatGPT, or you can also, upload the transcript. I know we do that with our discovery and our sales calls. Our sales team does that as well. And it grades them based on the rubric that we previously gave ChatGPT. And then it also tells them areas that they can learn from and do better. So I think that is a really great point to bring up as well. And then the last thing you mentioned is repeating the details heard, but also writing them down. We always like to tell clients to have their service advisors keep a pen and paper next to their phone and write down any common themes that they're hearing. And not even just, common themes in, we keep getting calls for this shop down the street, or we keep getting calls for this service we don't offer. Your marketers do want to know those things, but also if you keep getting calls for Toyotas that are having this problem, write it down, because then you can also talk about that in your marketing. You're being proactive. You're educating Toyota drivers on that common problem, showing that you're the expert in fixing it. And that can be tons of content in your marketing right there as well. So definitely not only repeating the details, but again, that comes from active listening, is being able to remember and write down those details to refer to later.
That's exactly right. And on top of that, it also allows you to, if you made a promise to someone, if you said, yeah, I'll get that information for you, and you take a note and then you follow up and do that little minute thing that just follows through with the word that you gave, those little moments start earning people's trust and lowering their anxiety, like we talked about. in the small things, so that in the bigger things, when you're asking to take their money, they go, gosh, they heard me on the little things. I feel like they're actually taking care of my vehicle. I feel like I'm in good hands. It just goes along with the full experience.
Mm-hmm.
A couple other things to keep in mind are to, most importantly, ask for and close the appointment. That's the whole point. If you are auditing your phone calls and not listening for your service advisor to blatantly, distinctly ask for the appointment, and then listen to what the caller states, and then overcome any objections, or bring it back to a yes and a time that they're bringing it in, then you're missing the whole point. The ultimate goal of initial phone calls to a business is to get their vehicle in the door, because once you have the vehicle there, you can inspect it, you can earn their trust, you can help get the work done. But we've got to get over that hump first. So asking for the appointment, and then making sure that you've closed the appointment, which would be, you ask, but if they never commit, you're going to have to come back around and close it and say, hey, so again, I've got this time and this time, which one works best for you? And making sure that they're committing to bringing their vehicle in.
I think an important note there is I want to share the term perceived appointment, which I learned from Stan Stokes of Gas Tax. There's a difference between closing and confirming an appointment and a perceived appointment. And a perceived appointment, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Hannah, but it's, yeah, just bring it by. We're here.
Yep. Stop on by, drop it off.
Especially
that creates chaos.
Yep.
And it also, again, it doesn't set you up for success because you can't prepare for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when it comes to especially calls that you're paying for from your marketing, you want a confirmed appointment. You don't want to just drop it on by, because then you never know if your marketing dollars are actually coming back to you. So perceived appointments, let's do away with them. Closed, confirmed appointments always.
And let's also make sure, once the appointment's made, that we are finishing that conversation and closing it off, right? So as a reminder, so you're going to repeat what the details are. As a reminder, you have scheduled to drop your vehicle off tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. That is your drop-off appointment, but if you bring it overnight and just put your key in the drop box, that is no problem. Do you remember where we're located? We do have 3 locations after all. You know, if you have multiple locations, or if you don't, but you're not in a common area, you just got to confirm that they are coming to the right place. Yes, I am. Our shop is the one right there past that that light, and on your left, right when you turn in next to the, I don't know, donut shop. Oh yeah, I remember. Okay, great. We'll see you then. And then we teach at Elite to ask 2 other questions. One is, do you have any questions for me?
Ooh.
Ask. Oftentimes they may have a question. What if they go, oh, do you do oil changes? There you go, another repair. Yes, actually, there's this noise that my car is making. That's why you ask for another question. Then the other thing you ask, is there anything else I can do for you? That's another second question that really can add to more business, or it can say, you know what? Yes, so if somebody's particular, I just got my car detailed and I'm really particular about it. Can you please put one of those floor mats down? Or, yes, actually, you're doing something with my wheels. I have to show you where the wheel lock is. So yes, remind me and I'll put it in the, cup holder for you. These closing conversations shows that your service advisor is in control of the call, that nothing is left unheard, and also make sure, again, at the very end, that your caller is heard. So, last but not least, you may have some concerns about, well, what do we do if the caller asks for something that we don't do? One of the things that's really important to do is to clarify that that's what they're really looking for. So somebody may say, hey, do you rebuild this? Do you rebuild transmissions? Nope, I don't rebuild transmissions. Okay, thanks, bye. Well, no. They may have a light that came on with their transmission, or their vehicle may be running rough and shifting rough. You may still be able to help them. That may be a transmission that doesn't even get rebuilt, and you don't even need to turn them away because you could probably still help them. You need to ask clarifying questions, fact find a little bit. Try to make sure that what they're asking is really what they're looking for. So there are ways to keep pressing just a little bit, or you can say, well, what's going on? And you can ask for clarification instead of just black and white answering the question. Another question we get is, hey, I damaged my vehicle and I'm really struggling, and it's broken and I don't know what to do. And then you find out that it's a collision as you're talking to the caller, and maybe you don't do any collision repairs. Well, that gives you an opportunity, even if you don't offer that service, to show empathy and to say, my goodness, I'm so sorry that you were in a collision. That's not a service that we offer here, but I'm happy to refer someone to you, and I'm happy to help you, refer a tow truck company to you. Are you safe? Still showing the empathy and getting them taken care of in the next step, instead of just saying, hey, yeah, we don't do that. So those are the kinds of things that you need to listen for and think about when you're preparing and creating what your phone auditing quality assurance program for your own shop is going to be. I have asked Caroline to paste in the comments a PDF that can be really helpful to everybody on handling inbound calls, incoming calls. It's something that we teach in the Elite Masters program at least 4 times a year to service advisors and managers who want to do better with customers and do better with where the close ratios on their calls, and also do improve their sales as well. So if you have any questions, you can use these telephone procedures and fundamentals to support you in your creating your phone auditing plan for the calls that you're listening to. But also, if you're looking to make it better, Elite has been teaching this course for over a decade, and it is life-changing for many students who attend, because we don't just talk about how to be a good service advisor. We don't talk just about how to make money. We talk about the whole person and how to be the best person you can be, so that you can take care of the people coming into your business.
Yeah, so we'll also put in the Facebook comments right after this. When Hannah and I taught this class originally, it was a 3-hour class that we shortened for our Tuesday teaching. But we did create a phone call auditing rubric. So like we talked about, creating that rubric, you don't have to use the one we put in here. Feel free to create your own. But if you are looking for a rubric, we'll put one in here for you guys to follow. Like Hannah said, Elite's phone call handling procedures will be in the comment as well. Take those PDFs, upload them to ChatGPT, and begin auditing your phone calls yourself, seeing where your service advisors can be doing better, where there's opportunity for improvement, not only in your employee training, but also to share with your marketers as well. Like I said, if you joined us live, thank you so much for joining us live. And then, of course, if you're watching this back after, please feel free to comment with any questions. We do monitor the posts and comments in our Facebook group, so we'll always jump back in there to answer any questions that come in later. But Hannah, thanks for joining me. It's always a pleasure to teach this with you.
It's always a pleasure. Good to see you, Haley.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a happy Tuesday and a very happy Thanksgiving as well. And we'll be back next month.
Take care.
Bye-bye.